Hey, everybody, it's Mark and, no Steve today, but thanks for joining us here on Kentucky Talks, and we're going to have a special Friday. This is pre-NCAA Final Four, and I'm sitting here in studio with my brother, really. Aaron Taylor's going to come in, and we're going to talk a little sports today.
Mark, glad to be here, man.
Oh, it's awesome to have you, man. So, let's get us kicked off, man. Let's talk about a little bit about the Final Four, what's coming up.
Yeah, man, of course, college basketball, for any Kentucky or Louisville fans out there listening, ouch, right? I mean, it's.
I hear you.
I try to stop paying attention. I don't really want to talk about it anymore, but for this sake, we will. The Final Four. What's really special about this year, of course, the Final Four features 4 number 1 seeds.
Yeah, it hasn't happened in a long time.
2008.
Yeah, 2008. Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a difference, even though the seeding's the same. And we'll talk about that. What's a little bit different about this year's the 4 number 1 seeds making it, but compared to 2008's. But here we go. Auburn and Florida SEC rematch. Both dominated the SEC. Auburn was 32-5 overall. Florida 34-4. Both of them 15-3 in SEC play. 14-4 in SEC play. As Kentucky fans, Mark,
it's as even as you can get, man.
It's as even as it can get, but it hurts all the same.
Oh, it hurts, especially because we took care of Florida.
Yeah, well,
right earlier in the season, and but man, we were hurt so often this year. I mean, it was hard to get. I mean, I don't think we haven't had a full team since December.
I'll tell you what, we've kind of been lucky with the injury bug too at Kentucky. I think that if you look past the 10, 15 years Cal was there, very few times was there a detrimental injury that I can think of other than Nerlens Noel.
Nerlens Noel, yeah.
But you got to go all the way back to 2013 for that.
That's a long time ago. Yeah,
a long time ago, and you see it all the way across the country that teams.
It was odd. We had so many things that we had to deal with this year. Lamont Butler's shoulder. I mean, the one that really surprised me was Jackson Robinson's wrist. I mean, because that kind of like came out of nowhere, it seemed.
And what a killer!
And I really miss Kerr Kriisa. I really missed him because I think he was an energy bug, man. Like you could throw him in the game, and no matter where you were in the game, he was bringing energy, and you could see him on the side. Now I'm hopeful he's going to be back, but we'll talk about that later in the segment.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Plus, I thought the Jackson Robinson injury, obviously Lamont Butler was not 100%, and you got to love the fight in him. I think you saw the effect of Mark Pope, which we'll talk about, but I love these guys. What a year. But Florida.
I mean, for being just one here, man, it feels like I've had them forever. I feel like they're being part of us forever.
But isn't it crazy? I mean, again, we're taking the top off of something we're going to discuss in more depth. But
obviously, this is near and dear to us.
Oh, it's near and dear. And also, this is what we've been missing, right?
Yeah, man.
We've been missing guys that have that pride, have that Kentucky across the chest. And, it's a different breed with these guys than it has been the one and dones.
Yeah. It is.
But anyway,
back to Auburn and Florida, and so the other one's Houston and Duke.
Yep, 34-4 overall, 35-3 overall, both 19-1 in Big 12, 19-1 in ACC.
Yeah, I mean these are like are like looking at mirrors are all over the place. I'll tell you this: when I did my bracket, so one of the first things I did was I took all the matchups. I put them into ChatGPT, and it kicked out. You know what it kicked out? This exact Final Four, and I thought, oh man, it's just showing us chalk.
Chalk.
But that's what I thought. So I went back and I kept rerun it, and every time I put it in, it would change some of the earlier matchups, but it always ended up coming back to this. And it's like, of course, I didn't put this in because I was like, I have my own heart, I always do my Kentucky bracket.
That's right.
And then
whoever has Duke going that far.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. But I did have Duke in the Final Four in one of the brackets. But I have Auburn winning one, Florida winning one, and I had Kentucky winning one. Of course, that's my Kentucky bracket. And I really feel that if we would have had everybody, we had a really good shot at it.
We'd have beat any NBA team. So, I know how it is. And when you have the blue goggles on, it's one thing, but this team gave you something to fight for as a fan and believe in. And I think we were just so hungry and desperate for that. So I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, I've heard a lot of people on the national scene, talk about how Kentucky. The big BBN is disappointed. We're not, because when we started this season, we had almost no hope.
Oh yeah.
right? I mean, when we were like, who are these people? What are they going to do? And it's like, hey, we gotta we have to we have to kind of like look and give a chance. So I was thinking, okay, man, if we can get into the tournament, have a decent showing, stay four, if we can get 3 or 4 games above 500 for the year, I'm going to feel pretty good because Rick Pitino, when he first came in 1988. I think it was the 88, 89 season. I think it was something like that. His first season, we just barely stayed above
Yeah, of course,
500
fighting probation.
But
else,
I mean, it was a horrible time. So, but it's okay for your first year coming in. And we had 0 points from last year's team. We had zero sneakers.
It's the first time since 1990 that 0 points returned to a team and they made the Sweet 16.
That's just insane. But I mean, I enjoyed the ride this year. I really did. I'm not disappointed. If you're a Kentucky fan out there and you're disappointed, I don't know why you're disappointed, but it's I feel really good about it.
And plus, don't take away the fact that in a year where you step away from Cal, who's such a prolific figure. I mean, he's above a lot of things when it comes to basketball because he's just such an iconic figurehead when it comes to, for whatever reason, it's the one and dones, it's the diaper dandies. He's the best recruiter.
He brought an excitement he brought an excitement back to Kentucky.
When we needed
it. And it's kind of like you're going through a pastor at your church, right? It's
That's right.
Sometimes you need a pastor that will take you steps up forward, and sometimes you need a pastor that will just love you and get you through something.
Yep.
And I felt like this is the same way.
Yep.
I think that Cal brought us in, got us to another level, and now we need somebody who understands the Kentucky on the chest, like you said, and we can move ourselves into the future with that same momentum. Because I still feel, hey, we're still Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And give it another year, another maybe 2 years. So let's look at these matchups again. So we have Auburn and Florida.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Man, I've got to tip the hat to Auburn just because they've done it. They've been the most consistent too.
Yeah.
And Bruce Pearl,
defense and offense, they've got it both.
I love, it's got to come down to matchups on the court. Obviously, it's about the Jims and the Joes, but Bruce Pearl, he's got his team believing in a way that he's just so fiery. He's always been that way anyway.
Yeah.
He's got talent that believes in him too. And sometimes when the roster overachieves, it's one thing, but this roster's intact to do something great. And I think they're on their way to do that.
So Auburn in the first matchup. The other matchup is Duke and Houston. I think it's Duke, man. I hate to say it as a true blue Kentucky fan. I hate to ever say that, but in all honesty, Cooper Flag. If they don't have Cooper Flag, that team doesn't do anything.
When he twisted his ankle, I thought, here we go.
Yeah. I mean, it still could be a factor because it was not an easy sprain that he had to deal with. So I'm sure he still has some lingering stuff. But the way they played through last weekend, I thought, my gosh, this team is almost unstoppable. I think it's going to be such a great Final Four because I watched Houston last weekend and I was not a Houston believer, but in that game,
dominant.
man, they were dominant.
Both ends of the floor.
Both ends.
Duke the same way. A lot of times in the tournament, you don't see the high scoring games, and because the defense steps up, the energy and everything else. Everybody fighting for their life, obviously, with the one and done format. Duke handled business, and so did Houston for the most part.
So when we beat Duke back in November, what I noticed is that Duke should have beat us that day. We won
17.
Well, we won that game because they got tired and they didn't have the stamina to continue, and our team seemed to have another step. Without letting down, and we came back in that game. That's why we came back. Because
and it was an improbable comeback.
Cooper Flag made freshman mistakes going down the last 4 or 5 minutes of that game, and he tried to take all of it on himself. He doesn't have to do that now. The team, I noticed that the team has played much better as a team, late in the season, just like they should this time of year. And I feel like it's they're probably going to beat Houston. Now I still think Auburn's going to beat Duke. I still think that Auburn's going to beat Duke, but that's me.
And again, the Cooper Flag when you're just they're not. It's not that they're one-sided, but if Cooper Flag struggles, is Duke the same team? I think Auburn, on the other hand, you've got to have a lot of guys struggle for Auburn to be taken out of the way they play.
Yeah, I think
because
so.
it's defensive first.
I mean, you saw with Janai Broom
down the floor.
when Janai Broom got hurt the other day. They didn't. It's not like they fell apart.
That's right.
Right, but he's definitely the guy. They need him on the floor.
Need him on the floor, but
I haven't heard about his injuries.
He's good to go.
He's good to go because it looked like it was more like a hyperextension type stuff. It wasn't really like a sprain or anything. It was negative. Everything came back negative, and so I think it was just a matter of healing up from a. And when you're 20, 21, 22 years old or whatever, is he 21, 22, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you remember?
I remember popping back up.
Yeah. Now I'd be lucky to roll down the hill to get back up or something.
I'm just popping.
Yeah, just popping. Everything pops. That's
but
right.
led by freshman phenom Duke's Cooper Flagg, he was named National Player of the Year. I got a list for you. He's the first freshman to win this award. Only 4 have ever won as a freshman National Player of the Year. Zion, fellow Dookie, followed by Anthony Davis in Kentucky in 2012. And Kevin Durant was the first freshman to win in 2007 at Texas.
Oh, yeah, and all those names are big time.
Zion injury plagued a little bit.
Yeah, I mean he's especially
you said the same thing with AD too.
Yeah, AD has been. Well, we saw. I mean, it's so strange. We saw them at Kentucky. When we saw AD at Kentucky, he was like. He was not. He didn't have any injuries really. I mean, he stayed healthy, didn't have any problems with legs. But something happens when they get. When you're a tall person, you get into and you put that wear and tear on the body like you do in the NBA and play 80.
And he had such a weird growth spurt. Remember that? I mean, 6'1" as a freshman in high school. Then
I mean, it's a very cool thing when you're young, but when you get a little older, it's not as easy to take care of that body. Those knees start going pretty quick, and he's had some strange shoulder problems though, which also could be. It's always about the joints.
The bird chest.
Yeah.
I always thought he's a little misproportionate.
Maybe.
I mean, he's a giant, but he's got a skinny chest.
Well, I mean, he was a guard. He was a guard until he wasn't.
It's time.
Yeah,
it's time you need to buff up. But here's the thing. So the 4 number 1 seeds, you've got Auburn beating Florida and Auburn beating Duke.
That's what I've got.
I'm going to say Auburn beats Florida, Duke beats Houston, but Duke beats Auburn.
Okay.
I mean, we're similar, but I've got Duke. You've got Auburn.
I could really go either way. I think any one of these 4 can win the game. We can win obviously because they're there.
Yeah.
They're all number 1 seeds for a reason, and you can saw it throughout the tournament. I mean, but I really feel that Auburn's just going to eke it out a little bit.
As a Kentucky fan, I hope you're right.
I do too.
Because Bruce Pearl winning it would hurt just a little less than Duke winning it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with. I'm definitely going to root for an SEC team.
Yeah,
Kentucky's out,
course,
so I'm happy if Duke or I'm not Duke, Auburn or Florida win. I'm definitely sad. I'm okay if Houston wins, but I'd much rather see an SEC team win.
Well,
I don't want to see Duke win.
On that note, this was a record-breaking year. 14 teams in the SEC earned a bid this year, surpassing the previous record of the Big East in 2011. 14 this year, 11 in 2011. So 3 more teams made it.
Yeah,
the SEC's deep.
It is.
It was a football conference. It's a basketball conference.
Their basketball has been phenomenal. This year's
it's coaching though. I mean, look at the coaching.
They went and got coaches. NIL helps a lot because because some of that football money finds its way into basketball more directly now because of NIL.
Yeah.
It's changed. NIL's changed the league.
It's a business.
I mean, that's what when you look at the transfer portal. I don't think we've gotten to this part.
Well, I don't know if you saw the clip of the player telling the media that their coach is the one that pays them. I don't know if you saw that or not.
No.
And he puts his hands over his head like, oh my gosh, well, it's legal now. I mean, it's always kind of everybody's,
it's been the
unsaid money under the table.
Yeah.
Or in Kentucky's case, a briefcase. But anyway, Well,
I mean, in 1987, it was an Emery package, a VHS package, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But so anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think Emery shut down after that. Nobody could trust them to send their illegal payments under anymore.
So what we said, though, 2008 and 2025, the differences of the 4 number 1 seeds remaining. Check this out. This year in 2025, they have a combined, you're talking about Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston, have a combined 20 scholarship transfers from other NCAA schools just a year ago.
Yeah.
Auburn has 7, Florida has 6, Duke has 5, Houston has 2, Kentucky themselves had 6. In the 2008 Final Four, Memphis, UCLA, Kansas, and North Carolina. And if you're noticing, those are blue bloods, okay? Outside of Memphis, you've got UCLA, Kansas, and North Carolina. None of those teams had any transfers on them. Think about that.
Yeah.
No transfers. Now we're talking about 20.
I mean, you could just
the transfer portal has changed. The
Oh, it has. And a lot of it has to do with NIL. I mean, the fact that there's NIL money floating around. I personally believe that the NCAA has to do something about transfers. It used to be that you had to wait a year to transfer, and that's what's exploded the transfer portal is the fact that you don't have to wait the year.
That's right.
I think that once now that NIL's here and their kids are getting paid, then we have to start bringing in some of those protections for the schools, just like they do in like the NBA or what have you, where it's like, okay, well, it's going to be like a minimum 2-year contract or something. You got to come in at least for 2 years. You're not going to be able to transfer every year. There's some kids right now that are transferring for their 4th time.
Oh yeah,
and it's like I can see giving a kid one free pass to let them transfer one time and play immediately. But after that, any other transfers, like you have to wait a year. Maybe you have to wait 2 years.
I mean, of course,
something like that.
Before in the past, there was you can't transfer conference inside conference. You couldn't.
Yeah, that was usually something within the conference that said it was a kind of like each conference set up their own rule that you could not transfer like an SEC
it was
to an
governed
SEC.
by their own conference. However, then when you say wait a year, I just want to clarify too. Waiting a year meant you don't play basketball for a year.
But yeah, that's how it used to be. It used to be you had to wait a whole year to become eligible to play
the game. So it hurt people to do it, and a lot of kids
I'm saying that
don't want to sit out a year.
I'm saying that if you transfer once, once you transfer once, you can transfer once with a free pass, right? But after that, you have to go back to the sit out a year if you want to transfer again. So if you transfer once, good. Go find you a new team. You've tried this team. It's like the college experience. Sometimes you go to college and you say, hey, this is not the school for me. Now maybe I go find another college. But once you go to the second college, that's not. It's very unusual for you to move to a third college or a fourth college.
Yeah.
So from an academic standpoint, so I would say go find the fit. If the fit works, if it doesn't work for the first one, then that's fine. Go to find a second school. But on that second school, you got to give it a couple years. You can't. You got to stay at least 2 years at the second school, and then you only have 1 year of eligibility left after that, right?
Well then, and to top it all off,
that's
coming off of COVID, where they're getting an extra year.
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, I mean,
now you're a 6-year senior. I mean, this is again affecting football as well. I mean, as a Broncos fan, Bo Nix, he gets drafted he played at Oregon, he played at Auburn, played 5 or 6 years. He's 25 years old and he's a rookie. I mean, COVID changed things. NIL has changed things to make it obviously more of a business, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with the NIL deals, but to me, it's like, where do you draw the line? But if you look at Kentucky this year, they don't have a team without something.
No, if we didn't get transfers, we're not playing ball,
and we're probably not making the tournament because he's probably hiring the janitor's kids to come out there and play because it just didn't have enough guys to pull from. But okay, so we keep coming back to Kentucky, but I just want to say one thing too about the transfer portal. When you look at the guys that Kentucky brought in, I thought that it was funny that with Cal, you had one and done players, and I'm going to run through the Cal resume because I think it's important before it sounds like before it sounds like, well, here goes Kentucky fans who was all on the Calipari bandwagon, and now that he's gone, he was not a good coach. That's not true, but I do want to talk about the differences that I see between Pope and John Calipari and why I like the situation we're in now a little better. But a year in review, life without Cal.
Yeah.
When we talk about Calipari as an icon, ESPN games, the John Wall, Dougie. I mean, it was almost like Kentucky as a blue blood, Kentucky basketball, with their pride, 2,000 wins, UK 2K, one of the best, as far as wins and tournaments and Final Four appearances, Elite Eights, blah, blah, blah. You stack it up. They're one of the greatest schools in the country when it comes to basketball. there was still like you can't go up from there. Well, there was a level Cal hit. Cal hits a superstar level with Kentucky, and they became a household name. Everybody
it peaked. It really kind of peaked in 15.
Yeah,
right. In 15, that peaked us out, and it's hard to beat. It's hard to eclipse that, and I think that we kind of got to that level, and it's like, oh wow, here we are. We're here. We're going to do this every year, and it kind of like it plateaued a little bit. It came back down a little bit, but it stayed level until about 19. Then after 19, the wheels came off. I know COVID kind of threw us off. We had a bad year. We had a bad year going into COVID. And then we had the COVID year, and we were really good the COVID year.
They got really good.
And then all of a sudden,
like Calipari was known for that.
Yeah.
January, February started to kind of tune up. In March, I was like, okay, here we go.
He did it this year in Arkansas.
There you go. Yep.
It's but the thing is that he used to do. Here's what I think about Calipari. One, I give him all the credit in the world for getting us through a period where we needed what he was selling. And I think he did a great job, and I respect him for that. If he was still here as our coach, I would still respect him. But I was kind of done.
Familiarity breeds contentment.
Yeah. It's like, he was like, really and truly, it wasn't him as much as here's the thing. I think, I felt it was like every press conference was a clone of each other. It's like, it's on me. We have to do a little bit better job. Yeah, you do. I'm not blaming.
He kind of did it at Arkansas too.
Yeah, he did.
In my career, I don't call time out there. In my career, I don't do that. I don't, and it's like, dude, you have one title and you've had the best teams on paper a lot of times. But
you don't.
Were the favorite going into a lot of these games.
Yes,
and didn't deliver. So. It kind of irks you when it's like.
I think we had pretty equal talent overall. What happened with what helped Arkansas the most was DJ Wagner came. He became the man that we knew he would be. Yeah. It just took him 2 years to get there,
and that's okay.
That's fine. That's actually how it was. He needed him to be a superstar on day one, and if you don't have the superstar point guard, especially in his system, dude, it's like. But that's what I like about Pope. Mm-hmm. Is Pope actually adjusts to the kids that are coming in a little bit better. He plays the 5-out game where Amari Williams, and he teaches his bigs to be passers. And to start and I think it's because he's a big man. And he loved one of the things he loved about being a big man was passing the ball
inside out.
Yeah, and so he likes playing the 5-out game where he gets a center on the top and then lets everybody else.
Amari Williams' last 10 games was bringing the ball up the floor.
Yeah, he was most of the year.
Okay,
right?
Maybe.
Even when he had both of the, whenever they had tough guards that were up against tough guards, Amari Williams would bring the ball up the floor because they couldn't afford to take a defensive guard off of Lamont Butler and go after Amari Williams bringing the ball up. Otherwise, he would just pass it up to Lamont Butler and let him go off and score or make a play. But the fact that they could pass so well, and so that's one of the things I loved about this team. It was different watching it. You see some of the stuff where you see some of the things that you admire about some of the smaller schools that have to kind of like play. They have to play really hard to get into games. You saw a lot of that in Kentucky game, and so when you see that, when you see that, you're like. You feel like once the Kentucky level talent is there, we're going to get talent. Then you couple those things together, it's going to be a pretty unstoppable thing. And the fact that I just love the fact that Mark Pope loves people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think that John Calipari cares about those kids and making sure, but there's a way to do it. That the way Mark Pope does it is he loves the name on the chest, like we said earlier, and he loves those young men on his basketball team. They're family to him, and he shows them how the Kentucky family works. And I love it. I eat that up.
When they walked off the floor, in defeat against Tennessee, the hug between Lamont Butler and Pope in the tunnel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that or not, but
I did.
That was a real moment.
Yeah.
That I don't think either one of them really cared about the cameras or even noticed that they
It was
were
not.
there.
It was like,
It
I
was
love
Pope
you,
was
thank
down.
you. It was all of that in one thing, man.
And it was the
And
players
genuine. It
picked
was
up the coach.
so
And you didn't-
genuine.
I'm telling you, you didn't really see that with players in Cal. It was almost like a love-hate relationship. I'm not, you see Kentucky players all the time, AD, John Wall, these guys, they give Calipari his flowers, but they talk about it more as a, paying homage to my alma mater or whatever,
Right.
not the relationship between me and the coach.
Yeah,
It's different. And we've all had coaches in our life that was like, that's coach.
It reminds me of. This is what it reminds me of. Remember Jerry Maguire?
Oh, yeah.
Remember at the end of it? He's like, at the very end, what was his?
No, you're talking about the I'm going love story. You're talking about the actual sports.
I'm talking about the sports side of it.
Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr. He does everything he's supposed to do. He gets his he almost gets knocked out. He gets up, and then now he's getting this contract, he's getting this payday, and and he goes. So look what he does. He goes and finds Jerry and gives him a big hug. It's that same feeling. And then everybody else is like, how come we don't have that relationship?
That's right, because
what
it was and Jerry Maguire is that you saw that it was like, hey, you believed in me.
Yes.
You got to think a lot of these guys bounce around. Because
I'm not just a paycheck to you.
That's right. And a lot of these guys, especially in the transfer portal, they're bouncing around because they don't really feel like they're at home. And every one of them.
That's part of it. Yeah.
Carr, you saw Kobe Bryant, you saw all these guys. They were literally like crying, like, I don't want to take this jersey off.
Yeah.
It was just different mindset from these players. But anyway, I do want to say this: Calipari, 15 years there. Listen to this. Kentucky ranks among the nation's leaders while Cal was there. Tournament wins 32. Final 4 appearances 4, Elite 8 bursts 7, Sweet 16 showings 8. That's more than any other school. Think about this for a second. If Cal puts that resume on pretty much a lot of schools, any schools across the country, that fan base is tickled pink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kentucky was too.
Kentucky
for a long
was
while.
too, but this is why we were no longer, because 2012 you have Anthony Davis was such a transcendent player. I think, in my opinion, and I'm only 42 years old, but I've never seen someone dominate the game in such a way where he didn't have to score and be the best player on the team.
Yeah.
To have 6 points in the championship game, I think 8 points, whatever it was, and dominate it. He was the best player on the floor.
Saw he was the best player on the floor without scoring.
But you put this resume on any other school and you say, hey, you're going to go to that many Final Fours, that many Elite Eights. But what it was is that the expectation when you come in with a #1 recruiting class, and I'll never forget this. I was actually interviewed in 2012, right before the national championship game, by a radio station in Kansas. They were talking about Thomas Robinson going to give Anthony Davis so much trouble and all this stuff. And I said, the biggest thing about Calipari is we've seen him go to the championship. We've seen him go to Final Fours, with UMass and Memphis, but this is the best team he's ever had. It was really no question. This was the most dominant team he had. We want to see if he can do, they always accuse him of rolling the ball out there. This one was pretty much, you got to roll the ball out there and let these guys play. And finally he got it. So it's thinking, okay, well, maybe we've got over this hump. He can't even say championships. He's got one.
He's got one.
And it's been 13 years ago. And I think familiarity breeds contentment. I think the expectation, like you said, the drone of each press conference, like, well, here we go again. Pope went to the filled those shoes, but this is what I think Pope did. He restored pride, he restored joy, and he restored the love of basketball back in the University of Kentucky.
I agree. And that will take you a lot further and be more forgiving, right? If you're playing basketball and playing it the right way and doing things the right way, and not that Cal did anything wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you do it with the thought of love of basketball first, and finding kids that fit that mold, the fan base will be a lot more forgiving because we get behind the kids. We do care about these kids. And if we see that they're playing with pride and with and heart, then a tough loss, we can take that a lot easier than then okay, well, it's time for me to just go get my MBA on, and thanks, Big BBN, and don't get me wrong, I see these guys come back, and they realize what they had when they came back, so
and that was Cal's players too.
Yeah, I'm talking about Cal's players.
That's right.
I'm talking about like Boogie and those guys. They come back
different.
and they say, "Hey, man, this is, I know what it's like to be here." And they come back here. They're not they're not trotting off to Arkansas. They remember Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I think that
and it does feel different. Like when Kobe Bryant or an Andrew Carr says, "I don't want to take this jersey off," and when you look back at interviews with players that came through here the last 15 years, you look at it as, the Kentucky-Louisville matchup. They're like, well, we don't really remember the rivalry, and it's like, it stings the fan base. Like, you're supposed to hate these guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think Pope instilled that in them. Like, this is Kentucky. This is BBN. This is for the fans more than it is for you.
They wanted more.
They wanted more.
They wanted more, man.
They wanted
and I
more.
wanted them to want. I wanted them to have more.
And I've always said, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, but man, Jackson Robinson injury, especially against Tennessee.
That one hurt us. That one hurt us the most. I mean, but man, we had 4 different guys that could all be considered keys in one way or another that went down. Well, we wanted to get to transfer portal and stuff. I think might have to say that for like next week or something like that.
I get going.
Yeah. So, oh no, dude, me too. So, plus, and there's a lot going on. Just to touch on it, there's a lot going on in the transfer portal. There's like 2,000 kids or more in the transfer portal. I think you said earlier and before the show, the most ever. And we've missed out on a couple guys, and so I think that's going to be another show. We could probably come back maybe next week or something, and do another show on that, maybe another 30 minutes just on the transfer portal, where things are. Hopefully, a lot of things shake out. We get a couple more wins. We do have Cam Williams for U of K. When we were talking about a couple guys from Louisville, let's save that for the next show.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds good.
You did tease the Kirk Risa just real fast.
Yeah,
I did hear that he's gone.
Is he leaving?
I think he's transferring. According to multiple sources I found, he's already announced he's entering the transfer portal again.
Doesn't mean he's gone because there's always a possibility to come back, but we are kind of full on point guards, which is going to be tough, and they are recruiting a point guard, so that's going to be, man.
You can't take 2.
But I love that guy.
Dance though.
Huh?
You can't take 2 girls to the dance if you're going to go.
Yeah,
go.
It's true. It's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
BBN I don't like that part. If you're gonna flirt, just go on. we'll get somebody else.
Yeah. So that's true. Fun. I was just saying. But anyway, well, Aaron, thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate it.
Had a good time.
So I'm trying to figure out how to end the show. So anyway, everybody, thank you all for joining us today on Kentucky Talk Sports for this week. Steve was out today. Kathy is sitting in on production for us today, so thank you, Kathy. And we're going to get on out of here and enjoy the weekend. You all, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully, you'll join us next week for Kentucky Talks. Perfect. Y'all have a good one.